It wasn't until recently that I realized the difficult truth that I've been addicted to my own suffering all this time. It's extremely uncomfortable to share this online and with the general public because, in a world where we have so much inside access to each other's lives and we get to see on social media everyone's accomplishments and highlight reels, it's really easy to create this persona of perfection and really show the world we got our shit together, especially in a leadership role where there's this story that I need to be a certain level of healed to qualify, so to speak, to be able to provide guidance or support to other people, as if there's some way to measure how healed someone is or how much someone has their shit together. So there's a lot of pressure to be at a certain level. For myself personally, I've become really comfortable with being vulnerable and really showing up as my most authentic self. And while it's become more of the norm these days to share vulnerability and authenticity online, it's still difficult to admit, especially online, that I don't always have my shit together. And that I too struggle with my mental health. And honestly, it's been a big part of my journey in who I am. I've been on a journey of self discovery and healing for quite some time now. And in fact, I've always been a seeker of the truth and wanting to grow. And it's shown up differently in the different chapters in my life. And yet, despite the amount of time I've been in this journey, it's only been recently that I've realized just how comfortable I've become with being a victim to all these limiting stories and beliefs. It's become my comfort zone. And one of the areas this showed up a lot in my life in a big way was with my mental health. Depression had become my companion for so much of my life that it had become my comfort zone. And despite how painful it was to experience these feelings, I have to admit that there was some comfort to choosing this story, the story of feeling the depression and all that it brought up. It gave me an excuse not to work towards my goals, and I called myself lazy because of the lack of energy or drive to do certain things when I was really just subscribing to this story that I had created in my mind, that this was who I was and this was my experience, and that there was nothing for me to do to change it. This story kept me in a loop, feeling gray, low motivation, and feeling sorry for myself. And the loop would just keep repeating itself again and again. And while I so badly wanted to feel better and feel joy and feel vibrant in life and motivation to do things, the story was still benefiting me in a big way. And because it was benefiting me and it had become my comfort zone, I remained in this story. And even more difficult to admit is that this loop was really feeding my ego. And it was honestly also feeding my inner child in some way, because I was called strong, I was called brave, I was being applauded for having created the life that I've created now. And despite everything, look where I am today. There was this other story that I had created that in order to be seen and validated, I needed to be struggling, to have a struggle and then overcome that struggle. And that was how I felt seen when people noticed that and supported me and told me how courageous I was. And this was feeding my inner child. It was the only way that it knew how to feel seen. And so this, strangely enough, was keeping me really comfortable. I was getting validation, I was getting seen. I didn't have to take responsibility for making change because I couldn't do anything about it. I was just a victim. Victim mode was where I thrived. I was seen, I was supported. This was all I knew. And the nervous system will choose a familiar hell over the unknown because the unknown is unpredictable. And all the nervous system is trying to do for us is keep us safe. So the unknown feels like a threat to the safety. And so I just stayed in this loop for so many years of my life. From another angle, another comfort of victim mode is that when in victim mode, we don't take any responsibility because everyone else is to blame, or everything else outside of us is to blame. And so there's nothing we can do to fix our circumstances, to fix our life, and to feel better. And so while it's super uncomfortable, that weirdly enough takes off the weight in a sense, because now there's nothing that you need to do. And the responsibility and weight of needing to make change, you don't have that. You're the victim, so there's nothing for you to do. So this was my story, and I'm sure so many others have a similar story that is just looping in their subconsciousness, maybe very subtly in the background. Shifting out of this mindset is extremely difficult because of how comfortable and familiar it's become, which is why so many people just stay in this victim mode their entire life. And you might be thinking to yourself, I don't know if this really applies to me. I don't feel like I'm a victim. I take responsibility for my life. I am in a good state of mind usually. However, you'd be surprised at how subtly this shows up though. Anytime you have a dream or desire of something that you want to create in your life, or the kind of life you want to live, and you have the thought that this is out of reach for you or you're not capable of achieving this, that is you putting yourself in victim mode. You are saying that there are blockages and that you cannot achieve what you want to achieve. Anytime that you blame the economy, the government, society, or any external circumstances for your life, or even internal, say for me it was my mental health that I was blaming, that is also choosing victim mode. You're in essence saying that you don't have power and that your life is dictated by the people, places, things, environment, circumstances around you. And that you cannot create a life that you desire because it's out of your hands. It's out of your control. It might not be how you imagine a victim to be, but that is victim mode. And by being in victim mode, you are putting blockages to maximizing your potential and being in the highest version of yourself. And in essence, saying that the universe cannot provide for you. What changed was gaining tremendous awareness to the limiting stories and beliefs that were keeping me stuck in life. And realizing that I was choosing, and the key word here is choosing. Because yes, I was choosing the comfort zone of being a victim over creating change in my life. So awareness was the first step that needed to be in place. How about you take a moment now to reflect on where this might be subtly showing up for you in your own life? And a good reference point to start with is think of any dreams you have for your life, whether it's a career, relationship, location you want to live in, experiences that you want to have. Maybe just choose one. And do you feel that this is within reach for you in the near future? And if your answer is no, for whatever reason, whatever it might be, just take a moment and sit with that. Say, for example, your dream is to live a beach life. And right now you feel like that is kind of far off. You don't feel that it's realistic, and there could be so many reasons why you might feel that way. Perhaps you have the story that you're in a 9-to-5 job and you don't think it's possible for you to earn the kind of living that you would like while living on the beach. Or perhaps you've never moved out of your hometown and therefore you feel like living on the beach seems really difficult to move away from everyone that you know, all your familiar spots. And so while living in your hometown your whole life, there's nothing wrong with that. If you love it and you have all the people that care about you and support you around you and you love all the memories, there's nothing wrong with that. No one's telling you to move. If you love your 9 to 5 job, nothing wrong with that. The problem is when we have a dream for something different and then we choose not to live out that dream because we're afraid or because of all the limiting stories that we have and the victim mindset that we're in, that we're not capable of truly living this dream that we have in mind. Because in other words, we're choosing to be a victim to our routine, our comfort zone, and our habits, rather than making the changes needed to live this dream that we desire so badly. Once you really begin to gain awareness around this, it's extremely eye-opening and you start to really look at life from a very different lens. So at this point, you might be asking, how does one get from victim mode to creator mode? And then what exactly is creator mode? As most of you have probably experienced when trying to make a change in your life, it's very difficult to make lasting changes when we just focus on removing and cutting things out of our life. For example, if you've ever tried switching to a healthier lifestyle of eating and you tell yourself a whole list of foods that you can't eat and all these habits that you can't do, maybe no being on your phone while eating, no eating after a certain hour, no eating before a certain hour, only eating a certain food group, whatever it might be, whenever you're constantly cutting things out and not replacing it with something else, it's really difficult to stick with it. But when you replace the thing that you're cutting out with something else, it gives the mind, first of all, something new to focus on and a new habit to create in place of the old one, which makes it a lot easier to make the shift, because then anytime that the mind wants to go to that old habit, it now has a new way of being instead of having nothing. So same way here. If we're trying to shift from a victim mindset, by replacing it with a new, healthier mindset, that makes it easier to make the shift. And what does creator mindset look like? So creator mindset is the realization that you are infinite abundance and abundance is all around you and you have the power to call in whatever it is you desire into your life and that you have authority over your life. You can create the life that you dream of and that you are not a victim and your life is not dictated by external circumstances. Not by the weather, not by the economy, not by the government, not by politics, not by any people around you or external circumstances, and not by your emotions. None of that is the deciding factor in the kind of life you have. You get to choose and go out and create the life that you want. That is creator energy. That is creator mode. You realize that there is infinite possibility around you and you just become a magnet to calling in and attracting all these incredible things into your life that you've been dreaming of for so long. Now, this is not some magic transformation that we can just switch on and off. The shift only happens with a lot of work, and I feel the first step is just a heightened level of awareness to these limiting stories and patterns as they come up. Really noticing when you're in the experience, the stories, and catching yourself in that moment and questioning the story. Noticing where you are dropping into that victim mindset. And in addition to the awareness, is accepting responsibility for the parts of your life that you don't love. So what I started doing was when I noticed all these stories and noticed where I was dropping into those victim mindsets, I took full responsibility in how I came to create this in my life. I began to shift the way I looked at these painful experiences and started seeing it as medicine, that everything that has been happening in my life has been happening for me to teach me and expand me into the highest version of myself. And I realized that there is nothing random in this life. Every single thing that happens, every little detail that is unfolding is the exact recipe that you need to become the highest version of yourself. And so then you begin to see these challenges as blessings because they're all part of your story. They're all exactly what you need to reach your next level. So this is where you take your power back. You get to choose your way of thinking and you get to create now. And now this creator mode becomes the new default, the new way of thinking. And as time goes on, the more you get used to it, it'll be so much easier to almost automatically go to this creator energy. And suddenly you start to see your path unfold in front of you. Opportunities come your way, and each thing leads to the next, allowing you to really expand and create this life that you dream of creating. And everything becomes possible for you. And there's no limit to the abundance available to you. You no longer look around at other people and feel like they're more capable or more fortunate in life, because if you are infinite abundance, then you're just an open vessel for the most infinite abundance to come into your life. It doesn't matter what other people have or what their circumstances are, because you can have it all. If you are it all and it's all within you, then there's no way that you cannot have it all available to you in your own life. So there it is, the secret to taking your power back. And I'm so passionate about this topic because it's brought so much incredible change into my life in just a really short span of time once I really began to focus on this new mindset. And that is all I want for everyone, is to know and feel that they are the creator of their own life, to get out of victim mode and stop the pain that is unnecessarily keeping you stuck and in a life that you might not love. When you are the source of it all, it's all within you, all the abundance, all the blessings, whatever it is that you desire. If we just learn how to shift into this creator mode and get out of victim mode. So it's time to take your power back. Get out there and create the life you dream of. Let's go create some magic.